Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And today we actually have a little quick episode here. Something new. We're going to just talk about Lamar Jackson today, because there's a lot of questions surrounding Lamar Jackson heading into 2021. In 2019, he was amazing, right? And he had the second best fantasy football season of all time as a quarterback. Last year, not so much. So, big question is, which Lamar Jackson are you going to get? Are you going to get Lamar Jackson that is 2019 Lamar Jackson, this guy who won leagues? You won a league with Lamar Jackson. He carried your team on his back and won you a title because of how ridiculous that season was. Last year, if people drafted him early, it just didn't happen, right? It didn't happen. Lamar Jackson. Are you down on him for this year? Is he going to bounce back? What are you thinking here, Lamar 2021?
I'm not down on him. I think one thing that we have to establish right away is one of the reasons why he was so dominant in 2019, and you could get him late. In 2020, he was still ranked the 10th best quarterback, which in a normal one, you're kind of like, okay, great. It's definitely a regression, but it's not bad. But it feels that way because everyone leapt to get him, kind of like Mahomes from 2018 to 2019. Mm-hmm. So that is part of the reason why people are so upset with him, right? It's because of the expectation. But he really didn't fall off that much. I mean, his completion percentage was very, very close. It was 66 in 2019 to 64. His attempts actually went down, from 401 to 376. And the yardage, 3,100 to 2,700. It is a big fall off, but where the biggest fall off was 10 throwing touchdowns you did not see. Mm-hmm. From 36 to 26, that is really where they figured out Lamar Jackson.
And that right there, those touchdowns is the key, because rushing were the same. I think he had 7.
The rushing was unbelievably close.
Like he had another 1,000-yard season. That is the whole key. You give, let's go if it's 4-point touchdown even. You give him those 10 more touchdowns, all of a sudden Lamar Jackson's the number 4 quarterback on the year. If it's like he's right there.
And so, then no one says anything. Because he also played one less game than a few of these quarterbacks as well.
True. So, okay, he played one less game there, right? So you give him one more game. Give him a 20-point game, and Lamar Jackson is the 7th best quarterback on the year. He jumps up that quick.
Yes.
It happens real quick. He doesn't need 10 touchdowns to move up that much. He just needs a couple touchdowns and he moves way up. Here's what I think about. This is what I'm looking at for Lamar. The year did start slower, right? It did, in a way. Well, he had a couple games.
The first 2 he did really well, and then it slowed down. Yeah.
So if you go look second half of the season, let's just pull up second half of the season, Lamar Jackson, weeks 9 through 17, essentially second half of the season. In points per game, he was the 3rd best quarterback in the league over weeks 9 through 17. Yeah. Josh Allen was number 1. Josh Allen had one of the greatest fantasy football seasons of all time as well. He was on a whole nother level. Aaron Rodgers, number 2 over that span. Lamar Jackson, number 3, one spot ahead of Patrick Mahomes for points per game over that stretch, second half of the season. Headed to Deshaun Watson and Justin Herbert, who everyone fell in love with, is a few spots below. Lamar was getting 3 points per game more than Justin Herbert was over the second half of last season.
Yeah, and
he was pretty good.
Yeah, he was good. The expectation is what really screwed him.
Yep.
And I think it's good for us, right? I think he's still going to hold on to like the bottom of tier 1. He's going to be the top of tier 2, depending on how you look at it. I think he's worth that.
Yep.
But I think what you really have to look at, and when you kind of got to it, is and I'm just, once again, I always look through week 1 through week 16 because I don't count 17.
True.
But in those, his average was 22.61 points per game. This is coming from Fantasy Pros and depending on the rules you were playing with.
Yep.
But 22.61, that would actually put him 7th if you were just going by average. And that means that he was less than a point away from Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson. And then a little more and about Aaron Rodgers. And then Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes all averaged 25.5 about. So, I mean, you just see the difference is 2 points per game between quarterbacks. I think what this shows is, first of all, it's very difficult to predict the type of seasons Mahomes had in 2018, the type of season Lamar had in 2019, where they were 4 or 5 points per game more than anyone else, and you would have these performances that would win you the week.
Yep.
That didn't happen last year at all. So the question for me is, after my initial reaction is, yes, absolutely. Lamar Jackson could easily bounce back. He should be, if they figure out how to get his passing touchdowns back up, which I think they could do. They've already started establishing more of the wide receiver core, right? I don't know what Sammy Watkins necessarily is, but I know that he's going to be a net benefit. I'm not thinking that him himself is going to be a huge asset for me, but I think he'll be a net benefit, not to mention whatever they do in the draft.
Yep.
So if they add people, and hopefully they can get people off of Andrews, because they just know that you're trying to go to him over the middle every time. So yes, he can go over, or jump back. But here's the question, and I know we have faltered on this a little bit, depending on where people were going. Mm-hmm. Would you ever take a high-ranking quarterback ever again?
No, never. I can't. I think it's. I thought. Okay, I've been fell in love with some of these players over like Mahomes or Jackson, and you start to think, oh, it'd be awesome to have that guy again, right, on your team. And you start thinking about it, and we did 25 listener leagues, so once in a while we did it, But in any of my main leagues, I wouldn't do it, and I'll never do it because Lamar Jackson a couple years ago. Patrick Mahomes the year before that, Josh Allen this year, Aaron Rodgers this past year. Aaron Rodgers will play it lower. You can find a guy.
Oh yeah.
And this year, I think especially, there's guys again, like there's good quarterbacks that you can get later. There just is going to be. And Lamar though, that's what I love about it. I think he's gonna fall. I've seen him up as high as 4 in like the consensus ranks. He does get lower than that. It all kind of depends on what happens with Dak. Dak passes him sometimes. But Lamar, he's more like 5, about the 5th quarterback in some of these drafts. He's going to go a little bit lower. So if you can get him for a value, I'm going Lamar. But I might not do that if you can't get him. I might just go and get the poor man's version of Lamar in Jalen Hurts. So
right.
Go for that kind of player.
That's an interesting one. When we talk about that too, because it is all about opportunity when it comes to quarterback, right? And like you said, I got Lamar, and he helped me win a championship, and that was.
And if you listen to this show 2 years ago, you all would have had Lamar too.
Yes, yeah, you would have. We were very high on him, and then last year I got Aaron Rodgers in a bunch of my leagues because I could get him late. Russell Wilson, whenever he's disrespected, I grab him.
Russell Wilson's disrespected again.
Yes, he is, and even more so the last couple years, the last 2 years especially, on anyone that I just completely fell on my face, I went and got Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill was the 7th best QB. Yep. And the big one here is not necessarily will Lamar regain his footing. He's going to be in the top 10 as long as he doesn't get hurt. Yep. And in my prediction, I think he'll be in the top 3 discussion. I don't know if he'll have that 2019 magical season.
Yep.
That seems unlikely because people are so honed in on him. But I think he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the league again. Well, am I going to go out of my way to get a top 3 quarterback? I'm not.
Well, so Lamar is ranked behind like Kyler Murray. I like Kyler Murray, but I feel more comfortable with Lamar than I do Kyler Murray.
Yes.
Right?
Well, look at look at how quickly they figured out Lamar.
Yep.
Now Kyler is the guy you have to beat, and they showed at the end of the year they could stop him if they needed.
And as great as Kyler was, and everyone loved, Kyler had 26 touchdowns just like Lamar did last year, and more picks. Probably think he threw more interceptions. He had 12 picks last year. So, yeah, I think in his rushing, he had more rushing touchdowns. He had 11. His yardage was lower. So it's literally the only reason Kyler was better than Lamar was those 4 extra rushing touchdowns, essentially. That's it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how quickly that will shape up. And I think that's why you have to love a Patrick Mahomes. I know that he was 3rd last year, and the year before he got hurt. And then the year before that, he had his magical season.
Yep.
But I think it's much more likely that a quarterback like him, and I love rushing quarterbacks, I really do.
Yep.
Would I love to get a Kyler or a Lamar? 100% I would. But I think Mahomes is the safest player in this because of his arm talent and because of the team around him. He will throw a lot of touchdowns. I love rushing quarterbacks, but I don't like paying a lot for him because I'm always afraid of them getting hurt.
Me too.
So
and Lamar, it depends on how far he falls. If he does fall, he's a buy automatic. For me.
Automatic. Yeah, 100%.
I'm top 3. I think in my updated ranks, Lamar will be a top 3 quarterback for me.
I am wondering if he is going to fall a little bit. I don't know if he'll be enough for me to get, because even though he's going to be ranked high on almost every fantasy draft kit, people are still going to remember that sting of, oh my gosh, remember what happened last year? And that's what's going to happen.
And there's people going to fall in love with Justin Herbert below him and stuff like. Well, Justin Herbert's a guy who's going to probably get drafted higher than he's ranked. He's like one of those type. And right now, Lamar has moved up like ahead of Deshaun Watson because of Deshaun Watson's legal trouble. But if that were to clear up, which I don't know if it will, it doesn't seem great. But if it were,
it does not seem...
people like Deshaun Watson, even though I would not draft Deshaun Watson over Lamar Jackson in ever.
Yeah,
so I'm not doing it.
And here's another thing. Like right now, and I know this is a little off base with Lamar, but there's a lot of things at play. And another one that I'll just point out is the fact that Joe Burrow he only played 10 games, but he was averaging 17.87.
Yep.
Yes, that's not in the same ball,
right,
as these other guys, right? You're still looking at 4 points below per game, but you're coming back. Hopefully you're healthy and you have a year under your belt. Guys like that, and right now he was ranked, I mean, I don't know where
14.
14.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can just wait and get that guy and not have to worry about it. I don't know. It becomes very difficult.
Yeah. So on one last thing here, I will play with the stats as much as I want to make it say what I want it to say. So weeks 13 through 17, last 5 games of the season, Lamar Jackson, number 2 quarterback in the league, only behind Josh Allen. He only was behind Josh Allen by 0.26 points per game over the last 5 games of the year.
Yeah,
that's the end of the season strong.
Well, they turned it back on, and it's definitely part of it. I think that the coaching staff did a nice job of doing what they had to protect him and also win enough games to get into the playoffs. But now you're hitting that moment where you have to. They got 1 playoff win last year, but you really have to win. I mean, they have to make a strong playoff push if they don't want that team to get some way altered, because people are going to be like, we gave you 3 chances with this amazing quarterback. All of a sudden, salaries, all that stuff started to play. So I think this is the year that they have to go all in. I really like Lamar,
I do too.
But I will not overpay for
I won't overpay for him, but I really like Lamar in 2021. So, all right, that'll do it. Talk to you guys next time.